in 1952. The photo showed engines 311 and 150 sitting outside the downtown roundhouse. It was then that my driver had found out about the relation her and the Pacific locomotive had. Just like the men who distrusted the engine due to the jinx that was hanging on to her, the engines started to do the same thing, and they kept their distance as well, fearing that they too would be jinxed. However, Engine 150 was not like them at all and was still 311's closest friend. They first met back in 1950 when 311 arrived on the clinch field. They formed a tight bond with each other over time and had been friends ever since that day. Even when the curse was at its worst, 150 was always there for her, even after the CSW had bought her in order to start a new career. You could say that 150 was her light in the darkness that kept her shrouded.
Well, it's good to know that there was someone to be there for her.
So, was 311's bad luck streak over?
It seemed to have been. For the first few weeks of operation, everything went smoothly. But the curse soon made its presence known once again. Now that's when almost everyone on the Campton Southwestern Railroad grew into mistrust in 311. She couldn't understand it herself, no matter what. Something was out of her control, and no one could ever tell the real reason. Deep down inside, she was very lonely. Her only real friends were her driver, fireman, and the manager. They did what they could to help 311, but to the others, including the dadgum company's president of CSW, she was a liability that needed to be put down. Just then Luke came onto the turntable, overhearing the entire conversation.
You're talking about the story of 311?
Yes, we are. Do you know about the story?
Indeed, I do. I remember it very well, and it's very haunting. Though it's intriguing for me to see that you engines of Sodor are so interested in hearing about it.
It's something that we're all into.
What we would really like to know is where in fact does the story of 311 really take place?
The story, ironic as it may seem, takes place on Halloween night, October 31st, 1957. Clinchfield 311 departed the logging camp with a logging train in the mountain and started the down descent. Not long after she left, the weather changed for the worse. It was one of the worst storms in U.S. history, with flash floods being reported everywhere along the line. The Miller River Bridge was the last bridge between the mountain line and the safety of the yard. However, the flash flood had loosened large rocks and trees from the banks, causing them to plummet into the raging rapids below. Since the bridge was made out of wood at the time, the force of the water and debris slowly took out the supports. The speed through the Miller River Canyon was 15 miles per hour at the time, but 311 was running late, so the driver had the throttle open, doing 30 miles per hour down the grade. When they were starting to cross the bridge, its supports finally gave, and it collapsed, taking the train along with its crew into the river below. The following day, a rescue was carried out, and they found total devastation. The location of the wreck hasn't been located, and perhaps never will. 311's remains have not been seen either. It was like she had vanished into thin air. After a new bridge was built, a series of bizarre events soon occurred, and thus the legend of the ghost engine was born. It is said that on Black Wolf Mountain, there lives a spirit, cursing to ride the rails for all eternity, reappearing only once a year on Halloween night, forever doomed to repeat its fate. While it is said to be only a ghost story, the engines of Black Wolf Central will tell you otherwise. Ever since the night of October 31st, 1957, over and over again, once every year, the spirit of 311, otherwise known as the Demon 311, is either heard coming from the mountain or can be seen sitting there, shining her ghostly red headlight at you, and whooshing ghostly red steam or thundering by where the accident occurred, trying to cross the bridge, but she never reaches the other side.